Hey, what's up guys? Hardleg Joe here with your weekly What-A-Deck profile. This week we're looking at pure Dark Worlds 2018. For our monster lineup, we're playing almost exclusively Dark Worlds. We have 3 Grapha, 3 Lucent, 3 Silva, 3 Gold, 3 Snow, 3 Brow, 3 Rueblie, and our only non-Dark World card is 3 Lilith, Lady of Lament. For spells, we're playing 3 Pot of Desires, 3 Dark World Dealings, and 3 The Gate of Dark World. Our trap lineup consists of 3 Reckless Greed, 3 Mamemaki, which may also apparently be called Bean Scattering. The translation isn't final when I'm recording this, but this card, look for that art. 3 Dark World Brainwashing, and 3 Dark Smog. Our extra deck consists of 1 each of Zombie Stein, number 38, Lancelot, Utopia Beyond, Photon Strike Bouncers, and Mayo, Volcasaurus, Baguska, Castell, Acid Golem, Graham Pulse, Doulahan, Nightmare Phoenix, Nightmare Cerberus, and Underclock Taker. The side deck, I'll go over in a bit. So, Dark Worlds. If you're unfamiliar with them, they are an archetype of dark, fiend-type monsters with effects that activate when they are discarded to the graveyard, specifically by a card effect. And that last distinction is actually really important here because it means cards like Twin Twisters that make you discard as a cost will not trigger the Dark World monsters. It specifically has to be a card effect. This can be kind of a tricky distinction to make for newer players, but just as a basic rule, if a card has a semicolon in its text, that means it has a cost. Everything to the left of the semicolon is a cost, while everything to the right is effect. But anyway, now that you know how you can't discard Dark Worlds, let's go over how you can. This deck has 4 cards that let you discard. Dark World Dealings is the simplest. It's a normal spell that says both players draw a card, and then both players discard a card. Easy. Next we have the field spell, the Gates of Dark World, which in addition to giving all fiend-type monsters 300 attack, says once per turn you can banish a fiend from your graveyard, to discard a fiend, and then draw a card. Dark Smog, meanwhile, is a continuous trap that says once per turn you can target a monster in your opponent's graveyard, banish it, and discard a fiend. Now these 3 are nice and consistent, especially the 2 of these, which can both be searched pretty well because they have Dark World in the name, but they've been a little bit power crept by the fact that they only let you discard 1 card per turn. Our last card, which is the newest card on this list, fixes that problem and allows for Dark Worlds to make explosive plays. Mamemaki, or Bean Scattering as it may be called, is a normal trap that says target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls, discard cards equal to that monster's level, and if you do, draw cards equal to the number of cards you discarded. Then return that monster to the hand. Now this is obviously a little bit reliant on your opponent summoning a monster of a specific level, but most decks will use level 4 monsters to get their plays going, and in that case this can be really effective first turn. You set this with 4 cards in your hand, and when your opponent normal summons, you return their monster to the hand, discard 4, and then draw 4. Allowing you to disrupt your opponent while triggering several Dark World effects in the process. Speaking of which, I should mention what actually happens to the Dark Worlds when you discard them. Grapha targets a card your opponent controls and destroy it. Lucent, Silva, and Gold are all high attack monsters that special summon themselves from the graveyard when discarded. Snow lets you search any Dark World card, Brow lets you draw a card, and Rueblie has the most interesting effect of them all. When it's discarded by a card effect, it summons itself to your opponent's side of the field in defense position, where it has the mandatory trigger effect, your opponent must discard 1 card. This is key because every Dark World monster has a second, stronger effect that you get in addition to the first effect, if the monster is discarded by an opponent's card effect. Now, since this card is summoned to your opponent's side of the field, it counts as their card effect, meaning you get to discard 1 card, and it'll trigger that super special second effect. Grapha's second effect says look at 1 random card in your opponent's hand, and if it's a monster, special summon it to your side of the field. Lucent says to special summon any fiend-type monster from your deck to either side of the field, which will either allow you to get your big beat sticks like Grapha, or allow you to summon a second Rueblie to your opponent's side of the field and use its effect again. Silva makes your opponent return 2 cards from their hand to the bottom of their deck. Gold targets 2 cards your opponent controls and destroy them. Snow lets you summon any monster from your opponent's graveyard, and Brow just draws a second card. Rueblie is the only Dark World without a second super effect, but that's to be expected given its first effect. Now, what's really cool about all these cards is how they can recycle. You might have noticed that Grapha, our highest attack monster, doesn't summon itself when it's discarded. That's because it has this effect that allows you to return any Dark World you control to the hand to special summon it out of the graveyard. So not only can you just normal summon a low-level Dark Monster, return it to the hand for Grapha, but if you want to use Gold or Silva's effect again, you can return them to the hand after they've been discarded, summon Grapha, and then you have fodder to discard them again. There's also a nice bit of recycling. You can use Mamemaki on Rueblie if you want to. You only get one discard since it's a level 1, but it's nice in a pinch to get you just that one discard that you might need. It returns this so you can use it again, and it denies your opponent a potential Link Kuriboh if they're going to make that. Now, our 4 remaining cards are mostly draw power and search power. Our only non-Dark World monster is Lilith. In addition to being a level 3 fiend, which synergizes a little bit with the deck, it says once per turn you contribute a dark monster, usually itself, to reveal 3 normal trap cards from your deck, and have your opponent randomly select one of them to be set on your side of the field. This is here pretty much just to search this new card. Again, you really want this first turn for those explosive opening plays, and having this is essentially like playing 3 more copies, since you can normal summon it, tribute it, select 3 copies of this new card, and then no matter what your opponent chooses, you're starting the game with this set on the field. Lilith can also search Reckless Greed, since it's a normal trap. It and Pot of Desires are both just here to get as many cards in your hand as possible, basically just to make this more effective. If you can get 5 or 6 cards in your hand, not only will you be able to send higher level monsters back to the hand, trigger even more effects, but it'll give you some options even with lower level monsters, so that they summon a level 2 or a level 3, you can choose all monsters from your hand instead of having to discard your other spell traps. All this draw power is also why we're playing a 45 card deck, between banishing 3, drawing 3 or 4 with Mamemaki, drawing with Reckless, the field spell, Brow, the searches from Snow. You can actually run out of cards pretty quick. I find this extra 5 card buffer makes that less likely, and it also helps fix the ratios a little bit, makes them a little bit more stable, so you're hopefully not drawing all monsters all the time. Now, these draw cards are also useful with our last trap, Dark World Brainwashing. This is a continuous trap that says, when your opponent's monster activates its effect, if you have 3 or more cards in your hand, you can return a Dark World on the field to the hand, and if you do, that opponent's card effect becomes discard 1 random card from your opponent's hand. This effect is really situational. It's a trap. It requires you to have a Dark World on the field and 3 cards in your hand, and the card you discard is random. But when it works, it really works. It's not once per turn, so if you have this set, you get a big playoff with your new card, you summon like 3 Dark World monsters, you're essentially going to prevent your opponent from activating any monster effects. Since any time they do, that effect will just become you discard a card from your hand, and since it's your opponent monster doing it, they're going to get their second stronger effects. That being said, if you're going to take anything out of the deck, it should be this. Pretty much everything in the side deck is just alternatives for brainwashing. Infinite Impermanence is a great new trap. It negates effects and possibly spells. Heavy Storm Duster is spell trap removal if you need it. Drowning Mirror Force gets rid of monster cards that you can't beat over or remove with your destruction. And Mind Crush is just a fun trollsy card, lets you get rid of stuff in your opponent's hands if they search, or it can allow you to discard a card from your hand by purposely picking something you know they aren't playing. Best of all of these are normal trap cards, which means they can all be searched by Lilith, so there's a little synergy there. The remaining side deck cards are just some other extra deck monsters. This deck has a wide variety of levels. You have got 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8, allowing you to make a whole bunch of different Ixie monsters. In particular, it's not too difficult to get 2 Graphas on your side of the field for a rank 8, or any combination of Silva and Golds for a rank 5. So it doesn't hurt to have some more specific options in the side deck if you want to. As for the actual extra deck, it's just a toolbox. Run whatever Ixies or Links you think will work best. But anyway, there's the deck for this week. I hope you enjoyed. If you'd like to see pure Dark Worlds in action, you can check out the main video, linked in the description or on the end card. There I'll be playing 10 random duels against opponents on YGOPro, and showing off what this thing can do. Until next week, good luck, and have fun.